Two things that I have to remember is to look straight into the camera and not to blink too much. Apparently I blinked too much in my last video.
Now that you've said it, I can see you are blinking a hell of a lot.
Oh, well there's nothing I can do about it.
I don't think it's a problem really, I don't know.
Okay.
It's just something.
If I blink a lot, it's just me. Anyway, the subject of my video today is teenage love. I had suggested that Charlie, my son who makes videos, did a video about teenage love. He didn't think it was a good idea, so here is mine. About a week or so ago, my daughter came home from school and told me that she had some really bad news, and I was a little bit worried about it. I thought, oh goodness, what are you going to say? What are you going to tell me? Anyway, as it turns out, she told me that her friend had been dumped by his girlfriend. He was very upset, and she was upset for him. I know that to be dumped as a 13-year-old is quite heartbreaking. The thing is, you know as an adult that you'll get over it. Now, firstly, I hate that term, being dumped. I think it is the most awful term. I'm not sure how he was dumped. I don't know if his girlfriend had dumped him face to face, or if it'd been on the phone, or if it'd been by text. This is one of the new ways of dumping, is by text. So I would just made me think about my own experiences of teenage love, and it took me back to when I was a teenager, and I was trying to remember when I'd been dumped. I didn't have a lot of boyfriends, and I couldn't really say I had any real boyfriends until I was more about 17 or 18. But I remember the first time that I was actually dumped, I was 18 and I hadn't been at college for very long, and I was seeing this guy who was the year above me. I went on a few dates with him, and then there was just a complete lack of communication. He didn't want to speak to me. He wouldn't answer my phone calls. He completely blanked me out, and I know this is another way of dumping as well. And as it turned out, I was very naive at the time. I actually went to his hall of residence and asked him what had happened, and he told me that, you know, he didn't want to see me anymore. So that's another way of dumping, isn't it? That's the kind of complete avoidance, not having anything to do with anyone. Of course, we should all be very mature about these things and speak to our boyfriend and girlfriend who we wish to finish the relationship with face to face. But a lot of us are cowards, aren't we? Thinking about dumping and teenage relationships, this brought me on to thinking about my first kiss, which in my memory was extremely embarrassing. I think I was about 14 or 15 at the time, and I was at a disco, went along with a group of friends, and I can remember I was dancing, and I'm sure it was Elton John's Crocodile Rock, and I know the guy that kissed me had glasses. That's about all I can remember about him. Anyway, he kissed me, and I can remember I was really shaking like a leaf. Now, why I was so shaky, I have absolutely no idea whatsoever, but I remember I was wearing the most appalling clothes. I was wearing like a brown smock dress and yellow tights. So maybe that had something to do with a very scary kiss. Another memory I have of sort of teenage boyfriend-girlfriend relationships was being stood up. It was a double date, my friend Heather and myself, and they were going to come along and collect me from home. We were going to go on this double date. It was a long time ago, and I remember also that it was extremely windy, and I think what had happened was that there was no telephone service at the time, because I think some telephone masts had been blown down. I was all dressed up, ready and waiting, in my wonderful early 1970s garments, which was like a cheesecloth shirt, I think, and a long maxi skirt, because it was before the time of punk, all ready for this date. And I waited, and I waited, and I waited, and just the guy never showed up. And I remember my mum saying to me, Lindsay, you are going to have to get used to this, because this is going to happen to you time and time again. And I thought, what? Am I going to get stood up time and time again in my life? This is no fun. But to be honest, it only happened to me once again. I only got stood up once again. I wasn't in my teenage years then. I think I was in my early 20s, and I got stood up by this guy. I was meeting him in a pub in York called the Grey Rooms, which isn't a pub anymore. I think it's part of the tourist board, and he didn't turn up. But I saw him a few years later on television because he became a television presenter, and I saw him and I thought, ah, you're the guy. You're the one who stood me up. Yikes. What I would like to say to Bridie's friend who was dumped recently is that I know it really hurts as a teenager, but love can happen at any age, and it can even happen for someone middle-aged like myself. So just remember that. And also I'd like to tell you about my dad. My dad is 79 and he has a lady friend, doesn't he, Charlie?
He does.
He does. And they seem extremely happy together. So there you are, 79. So I want to send lots and lots of love to all of you who have been dumped, all of you who are doing some dumping, because that's not very nice as well, and a very, very special kiss. Would you like to say anything about teenage love, Charlie?
It's not good.
Not good. It can be good. I'm sure it can be good. My experiences weren't brilliant, but hey, I'm sure some are. That's... You're going to have to do some editing on this, Charlie.
Yeah, okay.